What happens when the most advanced alien civilization in the galaxy encounters something they never thought possible? What happens when beings who have conquered stars and bent reality to their will suddenly realize they might not be at the top of the food chain? For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council has maintained order across 74 star systems. Their fleets patrol the void between worlds, their technology shapes reality itself, and their wisdom guides countless species toward peaceful coexistence. They are the shepherds of the galaxy, the ultimate authority that no civilization dares to challenge. Until today. Today, humanity makes its first official contact with the galaxy at large. Today, the Council learns that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one you never saw coming. Today, they discover that while they were building their perfect society among the stars, something else was building in the dark corners of space, something that doesn't follow their rules, doesn't respect their authority, and definitely doesn't ask for permission. The Council is about to learn why humans call their largest warships Titan class. They're about to discover that when humanity says peace through superior firepower, they mean every single word. And, most importantly, they're about to find out that sometimes the most terrifying thing in the universe isn't a monster, it's a species that builds monsters as a hobby. Welcome to First Contact. Welcome to the day the galaxy changed forever. Welcome to humanity's debut on the cosmic stage, where the opening act is a ship so large it has its own weather systems, and the encore might just reshape everything the Council thought they knew about power, technology, and what it truly means to be apex predators in an infinite universe. The question isn't whether humanity belongs among the stars. The question is whether the stars are big enough for what humanity has become. The crystalline spires of the Galactic Council's monitoring station caught the first rays of the binary sunrise, casting rainbow patterns across the observation deck where Commander HFY stood reviewing the night sensor reports. As a Kytherian, his forearms moved with practiced efficiency across multiple data streams, his translucent skin shifting through subtle color changes that indicated his mood, currently a calm blue-green that reflected his satisfaction with another peaceful rotation. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, built by 7 different species over the course of 2 centuries. Its biometallic hull could withstand the gravitational forces of the nearby neutron star while its quantum sensors reached across half the galaxy, monitoring for any signs of technological awakening among primitive species. For 3 millennia, this station and dozens like it had served as the early warning system for the Council, ensuring that no species developed beyond their natural boundaries without proper guidance and integration. HFY paused as his secondary hands detected an anomaly in the deep space monitoring array. The reading showed a massive gravitational displacement moving through the outer rim territories, something large enough to bend spacetime around it, but moving far too fast to be a natural phenomenon. His skin flickered to an amber warning pattern as he expanded the sensor range, trying to get a clearer picture of whatever was approaching. Sensor technician Merlandris, please verify these readings from Sector 77 Alpha, HFY called to his Vorthak colleague, whose insectoid frame was perfectly adapted for the precise manipulation of the station's most sensitive instruments. The Vorthak's compound eyes reflected the data streams as multiple limbs danced across control surfaces with blur-inducing speed. Confirmed, Commander. Massive object, estimated length between 15 and 20 kilometers, moving at approximately 12% of light speed through hyperspace. The gravitational signature is unlike anything in our databases, Merlandris chittered in the musical language of his species, though the universal translator rendered his words in standard galactic common. HFY's skin shifted to a deeper amber, approaching orange, a color that hadn't crossed his epidermis in over 50 years of service. Objects of that size simply didn't move at such speeds without tearing themselves apart. The engineering challenges alone would require technology beyond anything the Council possessed, and they were the most advanced civilization in known space. Run a full spectral analysis and cross-reference with all known ship configurations. Also, check our records for any species that might have developed such capabilities without our knowledge, he ordered, though privately he doubted they would find anything. The Council's monitoring network was comprehensive, and no species had ever advanced beyond primitive spaceflight without their intervention and guidance. As the hours passed, more data flowed in from the automated sensor networks scattered throughout the outer rim. The object wasn't slowing down, if anything, it seemed to be accelerating as it moved deeper into Council space. Most disturbing of all, it was broadcasting on frequencies that suggested some form of quantum communication technology, sending signals that seemed to reach their destination instantly regardless of distance. "Commander," Merlandris called urgently, his chitin plates rattling with barely controlled excitement, "you need to see this. The object has changed course. It's heading directly for Council Station Omega 7, and, at current velocity, it will arrive within 6 standard rotations." Zephai's skin blazed into full orange alert patterns as he opened a priority communication channel to the High Council chamber on the capital world of Serenity Prime. The massive holographic display showed the assembled representatives of the galaxy's major species, their various forms arrayed around the circular chamber that had hosted peaceful discussions for millennia. "Honored counselors," Zephai began, his voice carrying the weight of genuine concern, "we have detected an unidentified object of massive proportions approaching Council space. Initial analysis suggests technology beyond our current understanding, and the vessel appears to be deliberately heading toward one of our major installations." High Counselor Vesera, an ancient ethereal whose energy form had guided Council policy for over 8 centuries, pulsed with patterns of curiosity and concern. Her species had transcended physical form eons ago, existing as pure consciousness within specially designed containment fields, and her wisdom was considered unparalleled throughout known space. "Show us what you have discovered, Commander," her voice resonated through quantum fields that made every observer feel as if she were speaking directly into their minds. The central holographic projector displayed the sensor readings, showing the massive object's trajectory and estimated specifications. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the assembly as species after species recognized the impossibility of what they were seeing. The Korthak representative, a bear-like creature whose people were renowned for their engineering prowess, stood and shook his massive head. "Impossible. No known materials could maintain structural integrity at those dimensions while achieving such velocities. The energy requirements alone would exceed the output of most star systems," he rumbled in his deep bass voice. "And, yet the evidence is undeniable," responded Counselor Thyss Mech of the Aquarian Federation, her scaled features reflecting her species' analytical nature. "The gravitational distortions are consistent with an object of the reported size, and the hyperspace wake is unlike anything we've encountered." High Counselor Vesera pulsed with deeper contemplation patterns. "Commander Zephai, have you attempted to establish communication with this vessel?" "We have, Honored Counselor, but our signals have received no response. However, we continue to detect their quantum transmissions, though we cannot decode their content. The mathematical structures are completely foreign to our understanding." The chamber fell silent as the full implications settled over the assembly. For 3,000 years, the Council had operated on the fundamental assumption that they were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Their technology shaped reality itself, their fleets maintained peace across dozens of sectors, and their wisdom guided younger species toward enlightenment. The possibility that something existed beyond their knowledge challenged everything they believed about their place in the universe. "I recommend we dispatch a diplomatic fleet to intercept this vessel before it reaches Council Station Omega 7, suggested Counselor Merthak of the Unified Colonies, his reptilian features displaying the tactical thinking his species was known for. "A show of force combined with peaceful overtures should demonstrate both our strength and our desire for dialogue." "Agreed," Vesera pulsed with decision-making patterns. "Assemble Fleet Group 7 under Admiral Quintaros. They are to proceed immediately to establish contact with this unknown vessel. Make it clear that we come in peace, but ensure they understand that Council space is protected." As the communication ended, Zephai continued monitoring the approaching object, his skin now cycling through complex patterns of worry and anticipation. Something about the readings didn't sit right with him. The energy signatures were too clean, too controlled. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't struggling to maintain its current performance, it was operating well within its capabilities. 3 standard rotations later, Fleet Group 7 emerged from hyperspace at the intercept coordinates. Admiral Quintaros, a veteran Kytherian commander whose tactical brilliance was legendary throughout the Council, stood on the bridge of his flagship surveying the tactical display. His fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers, 4 dreadnoughts, and 2 of the Council's most advanced vessels, reality shapers capable of manipulating local spacetime to create virtually impenetrable defensive fields. "Admiral, sensors are showing nothing at the expected coordinates," reported his tactical officer, a young ethereal named Lysandra whose energy patterns betrayed her nervousness. "Expand the search pattern." "An object of that size cannot simply disappear," Quintaros replied, though his own skin was beginning to show uncertainty patterns. Contact, called the sensor operator suddenly. Massive hyperspace emergence detected, bearing 3 Mark 7. Distance. Admiral, it's right on top of us. The main display shifted to show what had just materialized less than 50,000 kilometers from the Council fleet, and every being on every bridge fell silent in absolute shock. The object was indeed between 15 and 20 kilometers in length, but those measurements had somehow failed to capture its true nature. What hung in space before them wasn't just large, it was impossible. The vessel's hull was a matte black that seemed to absorb light itself, broken only by massive weapons arrays that glowed with barely contained energy. Towers and superstructures rose from its surface like metallic mountains, and launch bays large enough to house entire Council cruisers lined its flanks. Most unnervingly, the ship wasn't shaped like anything they had ever seen. It wasn't designed for beauty or efficiency, but for one single purpose: overwhelming destruction. By the ancient stars, whispered Admiral Quintaros, his skin cycling through colors that had no names in any galactic language. What manner of species builds something like this? The massive vessel began to rotate slowly, bringing its full profile into view. Along its hull, characters appeared in a script none of them recognized, though the universal translators were working frantically to decode their meaning. Finally, words appeared on every screen in the fleet: UHNS Prometheus, Titan-class battleship, United Human Naval Forces human. Admiral Quintaros repeated the word as if testing its taste. What are humans? His question was answered moments later as a transmission reached the fleet, not through normal communication channels, but directly into their minds through quantum entanglement fields that shouldn't have been possible. The voice that spoke was calm, professional, and utterly alien in its confidence. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Human Naval Forces aboard the battleship Prometheus. We are responding to your territorial claims in this sector and request immediate dialogue with your governing body. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. Please respond within 1 standard hour. As the transmission ended, Admiral Quintaros stared at the massive vessel that dwarfed his entire fleet. Whatever humans were, they had just announced themselves to the galaxy in a way that would change everything. His hand moved to the emergency communication panel that would alert the High Council to what might be the most significant moment in galactic history. The unknown had just become known, and Quintaros had the terrible feeling that the galaxy would never be the same again. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the command deck of the UHNS Prometheus, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the alien fleet arranged in what appeared to be a defensive formation. After 3 months of deep space reconnaissance and intelligence gathering, this moment had been inevitable. Humanity's expansion into what they had discovered was claimed territory was bound to result in first contact eventually. The command deck around her buzzed with controlled activity as her crew monitored every aspect of their situation. Lieutenant Commander James Rodriguez, her tactical officer, stood at his station coordinating target locks on the alien vessels, not out of aggression, but because human military doctrine demanded readiness for any possibility. The alien ships were elegant, almost artistic in their design, but Chen's trained eye could identify weapons systems and defensive capabilities that were clearly advanced. Ma'am, we're receiving multiple quantum encrypted transmissions from the alien fleet. The AI is working on translation protocols, reported Commander Lisa Park, the ship's communications officer. Park was one of the few people aboard who had direct neural interface capability, allowing her to process the vast amounts of data flowing through the Prometheus's quantum communication arrays. Any success with their language patterns? Chen asked, maintaining her calm exterior despite the magnitude of the situation. First contact protocols were theoretical until this moment, and the responsibility of representing humanity to whatever galactic civilization existed out here weighed heavily on her shoulders. Partial success, Admiral. Their universal translation technology is actually quite sophisticated. They seem to have automatically adapted to our language within minutes of initial contact. We're getting clear communication now, Park replied, her expression showing both admiration and concern for the implications of such advanced technology. The main display shifted to show a detailed scan of the alien flagship. The vessel was approximately 2 kilometers in length, its hull a flowing combination of organic curves and crystalline structures that seemed to shift color in the starlight. It was beautiful in an alien way, but Chen could see the defensive systems and weapon ports that marked it as a warship despite its artistic appearance. "Admiral, incoming transmission on standard diplomatic frequencies," announced Park. "Put it through." The display changed to show an alien being unlike anything in human science fiction. The creature had 4 arms, translucent skin that shifted through various color patterns, and what appeared to be both primary and secondary nervous systems based on the visible neural pathways beneath its flesh. When it spoke, the voice was translated into clear English, though Chen could hear the musical quality of the original language underneath. "I am Admiral Quintaros of the Galactic Council Fleet Group 7. Your presence in Council space has been noted, and we have been authorized to establish formal diplomatic contact. We welcome you to the galactic community, though we must express our concern at your choice to enter our territory with such a massive warship." Chen stepped forward, her posture maintaining the perfect balance between respect and strength that human diplomacy had refined over centuries of international relations. "Admiral Quintaros, I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Human Naval Forces. We appreciate your welcome, though I must point out that our star charts show no indication of territorial claims in this region of space. Humanity has been expanding through this sector for the past 2 decades without encountering any evidence of galactic civilization. We come with peaceful intentions, but we do not recognize territorial claims that were never properly communicated or established." The alien admiral's skin shifted to what appeared to be surprise patterns, cycling through several distinct color combinations before settling into what might have been confusion. "Admiral Chen, the Galactic Council has maintained sovereignty over this region for over 3,000 standard years. Our monitoring stations have been observing this sector continuously, and we have detected no evidence of spacefaring civilization from your species until this moment. How is it possible that you claim 20 years of expansion when our sensors show no trace of your activities?" Chen exchanged a glance with her intelligence officer, Commander David Kim, whose specialty in xenotechnology had prepared him for exactly this kind of revelation. Kim stepped forward, his tablet displaying data that had been gathered during their months of covert observation. "Admiral Quintaros, our intelligence indicates that your monitoring technology operates primarily on quantum resonance patterns and gravitational distortion detection. Human technology evolved along different principles. We use quantum suppression fields and gravitational nullification for our faster-than-light travel. Your sensors wouldn't detect our ships because we specifically developed our technology to avoid detection by the methods you use." The alien admiral's skin patterns became increasingly agitated, cycling through rapid color changes that the Prometheus's xenopsychology AI interpreted as extreme distress. "You developed FTL technology specifically to avoid detection? That implies knowledge of our monitoring methods, which should be impossible for a species making first contact," Quintaros stated, his voice carrying undertones that the translator marked as suspicion and growing alarm. Chen had anticipated this moment. Human intelligence services had been aware of the galactic civilization for 18 months, ever since the deep space probe Magellan had detected quantum communication networks spanning multiple star systems. The decision to maintain covert observation while humanity prepared for contact had been controversial, but it had provided crucial intelligence about galactic politics, technology, and military capabilities. "Admiral, humanity has been aware of your civilization for some time. We detected your quantum communication networks and spent considerable effort learning about your society before making formal contact. We believe in the wisdom of understanding a situation before acting, rather than stumbling blindly into a galaxy we knew nothing about." The implications of this statement hit the alien fleet like a physical blow. Chen could see the agitation spreading across multiple ships as their crews realized that humanity had been watching them without being detected, a capability that challenged fundamental assumptions about their technological superiority and security. "You have been observing us without our knowledge or consent," Quintaros stated, his skin now displaying what could only be interpreted as anger patterns. "This is a violation of galactic law and represents a significant security breach. How long have you been spying on the Council?" 18 months of passive observation, Admiral. We intercepted no secure communications and made no attempt to interfere with your activities. We simply learned enough about your civilization to ensure that first contact could proceed as peacefully as possible, Chen replied calmly, though she was fully aware that her revelation was causing significant distress among the alien fleet. At that moment, Commander Rodriguez approached with a tactical update that Chen had been expecting. "Admiral, sensors show additional alien vessels emerging from hyperspace. 23 ships, including several of a configuration we haven't seen before. They're taking positions around our location. Chen nodded calmly, having anticipated that first contact would likely involve more than a single fleet. The quantum communication bursts detected by the Prometheus indicated that Admiral Quintaros had been reporting to his superiors continuously since their arrival. Admiral Quintaros, I see you've called for reinforcements. While we appreciate your caution, I want to make our position clear. The Prometheus is here for diplomatic contact, not conflict. However, this ship and her crew are prepared for any situation that might develop. Admiral Chen, you claim peaceful intentions while arriving in a vessel that dwarfs our entire fleet. Your ship's energy signatures suggest weapons systems beyond anything in our experience, and you admit to covert surveillance of our civilization. How do you expect us to interpret these actions as peaceful? Chen walked to the tactical display and gestured to the ship schematics visible on the screen. Admiral, the Prometheus is indeed a warship, and, yes, she is heavily armed. However, she is only one of 7 Titan-class battleships in the human fleet, and she represents less than 1% of our total naval capability. We brought our most advanced ship not as a threat, but as a demonstration of our technological capabilities and our commitment to equality in any negotiations. The silence that followed this statement was profound. Chen could see the alien crews processing the implications of what she had just revealed, that this massive warship, which outgunned their entire fleet, was merely a small fraction of humanity's military capability. You're saying that this vessel represents 1% of your fleet? Quintaros asked, his skin patterns now cycling through colors that had no translation. Approximately, yes. Humanity takes the security of our space very seriously, Admiral. We learned long ago that peace is best maintained through strength, and that negotiations are most productive when all parties understand the capabilities of their counterparts. Commander Park stepped forward with another communication update. Admiral, we're receiving priority transmissions on multiple quantum channels. It appears the alien leadership is requesting immediate emergency consultations. The message traffic volume has increased by over 3,000% in the last 10 minutes. Chen nodded, understanding that her revelations were causing significant upheaval in the galactic government. She had expected this reaction, but the intensity of their response suggested that humanity's approach to galactic politics was unlike anything they had encountered before. Admiral Quintaros, I believe this conversation would be more productive if we could speak with your senior leadership directly. The Prometheus is prepared to accompany your fleet to an appropriate location for formal diplomatic contact, or we can host a delegation aboard our ship. We have prepared extensive cultural and technological information exchanges that should help both our civilizations understand each other better. The alien admiral was clearly struggling with the situation. His government's assumptions about technological superiority and galactic security had been shattered in the space of a single conversation, and he was obviously receiving urgent instructions from his superiors. Admiral Chen, the High Council has authorized me to extend an invitation for formal diplomatic contact at Council Station Omega-7. However, they have also authorized me to inform you that bringing a warship of your vessel's capabilities into the heart of Council space represents a significant security concern. Understood, Admiral. However, I think you should know that the Prometheus is already within detection range of Council Station Omega-7. Our sensors are quite sophisticated, and we have been monitoring your major installations throughout this conversation. Chen's statement caused another wave of alarm throughout the alien fleet. The idea that humanity's sensors could reach across multiple star systems to monitor their installations was another technological revelation that challenged their understanding of what was possible. Admiral Chen, Quintaros said after a long pause, I think it would be wise for us to proceed to Council Station Omega-7 immediately. This conversation has raised questions that require answers from our highest authorities. Agreed, Admiral. The Prometheus will follow your fleet to the station. And, Admiral? Yes? I think this is the beginning of a very interesting relationship between our peoples. As the combined fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Chen turned to her tactical officer. Rodriguez, maintain full defensive readiness but keep all weapons powered down. This is still a diplomatic mission, but I have a feeling the next few hours are going to test that designation to its limits. The stars stretched into lines as both fleets entered hyperspace, heading toward a station where the galaxy's most powerful civilization was about to learn that they were no longer the most powerful force in known space. Council Station Omega-7 materialized from hyperspace like a small artificial world, its massive structure stretching across nearly 100 kilometers of space. The station represented the pinnacle of galactic engineering, a cooperative effort between dozens of species that had taken over a century to complete. Its biometallic hull pulsed with living light, while quantum barriers created defensive fields that could theoretically withstand the collapse of a small star. Admiral Chen studied the station through the Prometheus's advanced sensor arrays, noting the elegant integration of different architectural styles that reflected the diverse species of the Galactic Council. Crystalline spires from the ethereals twisted alongside the organic curves favored by the Aquarians, while massive structural supports showed the practical engineering mindset of the Korthak. It was beautiful, sophisticated, and clearly represented a civilization that had mastered cooperation on a galactic scale. Impressive, commented Commander Kim from his position at the intelligence station. The power output alone suggests they have mastered matter-antimatter conversion on a massive scale. Those defensive fields or reading is nearly impenetrable. Nearly, Chen replied with a slight smile. The Prometheus's quantum penetration missiles could breach those defenses, but she kept that information to herself. There was no need to escalate tensions when diplomacy was still possible. Admiral, we're receiving docking instructions from the station, reported Commander Park. They want us to take position at their diplomatic berth, but there's a problem. What kind of problem? Their largest diplomatic berth is designed for ships up to 3 kilometers in length. The Prometheus is 22 kilometers long. We literally don't fit in their docking facilities. Chen nodded, having anticipated this issue. Human ship design philosophy differed significantly from what they had observed in galactic civilization. Where the aliens built elegant, efficient vessels optimized for specific roles, humans built massive multipurpose warships designed to operate independently for years at a time. Inform station control that will maintain position at 10,000 kilometers. We can transport diplomatic personnel by shuttle, or they're welcome to dock with our external berths. The conversation was interrupted as the main display lit up with an incoming transmission from the station. The being who appeared was unlike any they had encountered so far, a creature of pure energy contained within a sophisticated force field matrix. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, creating an almost mystical quality that the universal translator couldn't quite capture. I am High Counselor Vesera of the Galactic Council. Admiral Chen, your arrival has created considerable discussion among our leadership. We welcome this opportunity for formal contact, though we must address the significant concerns raised by your methods and capabilities. Chen stepped forward, maintaining the respectful but confident posture that had served humanity well in countless diplomatic encounters. High Counselor Vesera, I am honored to meet you. Humanity appreciates this opportunity for dialogue and looks forward to establishing positive relations with the Galactic Council. We understand that our approach may seem unconventional, but we believe that honest communication is the foundation of any successful relationship. The ethereal's energy patterns pulsed with what might have been consideration. Admiral Chen, we must begin with the most pressing concern. Your admission that humanity has been conducting covert surveillance of our civilization represents a significant violation of galactic law and diplomatic protocol. How do you justify such actions? Chen had prepared for this question extensively, working with her diplomatic team to craft a response that would be honest while explaining humanity's perspective. High Counselor, humanity's actions were based on caution rather than malice. When we first detected evidence of galactic civilization, we faced a choice: make contact immediately with no understanding of your culture, politics, or intentions, or take time to learn about you before revealing ourselves. History has taught us that first contact can go very badly when there is a significant difference in technological capabilities or cultural understanding. You speak of technological differences, Vesera pulsed with patterns that suggested deep thought. Our analysis of your vessel suggests capabilities that challenge our understanding of what is possible. Your ship's power output exceeds that of our entire fleet, and your sensor systems appear to operate on principles we cannot identify. How did your species achieve such technological advancement without our detection? Commander Kim stepped forward at Chen's gesture, carrying a data tablet that contained carefully prepared information about human technological development. High Counselor, human technology evolved differently from yours because we faced different challenges. Our homeworld experienced numerous global conflicts that drove rapid military innovation, while our expansion into space was motivated by resource scarcity and defensive concerns. We developed quantum suppression technology not to hide from you specifically, but because stealth capabilities were essential for survival in a hostile universe. The explanation seemed to surprise the ethereal, whose energy patterns shifted to what the xenopsychology AI interpreted as confusion. You developed your technology in response to conflict? The Council has maintained galactic peace for 3 millennia. What hostile forces could have driven such militaristic development? Chen exchanged glances with her senior staff. This question revealed a fundamental difference between humanity and the galactic civilization. Humans had never known a universe without threats, while the Council apparently had never faced serious opposition to their authority. High Counselor, humanity developed in isolation, without knowledge of the Galactic Council or its peacekeeping efforts. Our early space exploration revealed evidence of extinct civilizations, destroyed worlds, and stellar phenomena that suggested the universe was not a safe place. We built our military capabilities to protect ourselves from unknown threats, not in response to any specific enemy. The silence that followed this statement was profound. Chen could see additional figures appearing on the transmission, representatives of various species gathering to hear humanity's explanation of their technological and military development. Admiral Chen spoke a new voice, and the display shifted to show a massive bear-like creature whose powerful frame radiated authority. I am Counselor Merthak of the Unified Colonies. You speak of destroyed civilizations and stellar threats. Our records show no evidence of hostile forces operating in this galaxy for over 5,000 years. What exactly did your people discover? Chen nodded to Commander Kim, who activated his data tablet to display holographic images that the Prometheus's sensors could transmit directly to the station's receivers. Counselor Merthak, our deep space archaeological surveys have identified 17 extinct civilizations within 50 light-years of human space. Analysis suggests these species achieved interstellar travel before being destroyed by unknown forces. We have also detected evidence of artificial stellar manipulation, stars that were deliberately destabilized or weaponized. The images showed dead worlds, their surfaces scarred by weapons that could crack continents, along with stellar remnants that displayed signs of artificial collapse. The assembled aliens stared at the evidence in apparent shock. This is impossible, declared another voice, and a reptilian being stepped forward. I am Counselor THYSS Mech of the Aquarian Federation. The Council's historical records extend back 15,000 years, and we have found no evidence of galaxy-spanning conflicts or hostile civilizations. With respect, Counselor, Chen replied carefully, our evidence suggests these conflicts occurred before the Council's formation. It's possible that the very peace you have maintained was built on the ashes of civilizations that came before. High Counselor Vesera's energy patterns became increasingly agitated as she processed this information. Admiral Chen, if what you suggest is true, it means the Council was founded in ignorance of the galaxy's true history. But, more immediately, it explains why your species developed such overwhelming military capabilities. You believed you were preparing for threats that we had not encountered. Exactly, High Counselor. Humanity's military doctrine is based on the assumption that unknown threats could emerge at any time. Our ships are built to survive anything the universe might throw at us, and our weapons are designed to eliminate any conceivable enemy. Commander Rodriguez chose this moment to provide an update that Chen had been expecting. Admiral, sensors are detecting massive fleet movements throughout Council space. Looks like every major fleet is being recalled to defensive positions around critical systems. Chen wasn't surprised by this development. The revelation that humanity possessed overwhelming military superiority had obviously triggered emergency protocols throughout the galactic civilization. High Counselor, I can see that our capabilities have caused significant concern among your leadership. I want to assure you that humanity has no aggressive intentions toward the Galactic Council. We seek peaceful coexistence and mutual cooperation. Admiral Chen, Vesera pulsed with what appeared to be desperate hope. Your assurances are appreciated, but surely you understand our position. A single one of your ships outguns our entire fleet. How can we trust that your peaceful intentions will remain permanent? Chen had anticipated this question and had spent weeks developing her response with input from Earth's finest diplomatic minds. High Counselor, I propose a series of confidence-building measures. First, humanity will share our archaeological data about the extinct civilizations, allowing your scientists to verify our findings. Second, we will establish joint research initiatives to study these historical threats and determine whether they might return. Third, we will negotiate formal treaties that establish clear boundaries and protocols for interaction between our civilizations. The offer seemed to intrigue the Council representatives, though Chen could see they were still struggling with the fundamental shift in galactic power dynamics that humanity's arrival represented. What do you propose in terms of territorial arrangements? Asked Councillor Merthak. The Council has maintained sovereignty over this region for millennia. Humanity claims no territory that is currently inhabited by Council species, Chen replied diplomatically. However, we do claim sovereignty over the systems we have already colonized and the rights to continue expansion into unoccupied space. We are willing to negotiate border agreements and establish protocols for future expansion. And what of your military capabilities? Pressed Councillor THYSS Mech. How can the Council accept the presence of such overwhelming force without any checks or balances? Chen smiled, having anticipated this crucial question. Counselor, humanity proposes the establishment of mutual defense agreements. We will share defensive technologies with Council species and coordinate our military capabilities to defend against any external threats that might emerge. Rather than seeing our military as a threat to galactic peace, perhaps it could become the foundation for even greater security than the Council has previously known. High Counselor Vesera pulsed with complex patterns that suggested deep consideration. Admiral Chen, your proposals are unexpected. Most species that achieve significant military superiority use it to dominate others. You suggest using your capabilities to protect those who cannot match them. High Counselor, humanity learned long ago that true security comes from having strong allies, not conquered subjects. We would rather have the Galactic Council as partners than adversaries. The transmission fell silent for several minutes as the Council representatives consulted among themselves. Finally, Vesera spoke again. Admiral Chen, the Council requires time to consider your proposals and verify your claims about galactic history. We propose a formal diplomatic summit be held here at Station Omega-7, with full representation from both humanity and the Council. Are you prepared to participate in such negotiations? Absolutely, High Counselor. When would you like to begin? Immediately, Vesera replied, her energy patterns now showing determination rather than fear. The galaxy has clearly changed in ways we never anticipated. It is time for the Council to adapt to new realities. As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her staff with a satisfied expression. Well, that went better than expected. Commander Park, contact Earth and inform them that we'll need our full diplomatic team out here. It looks like we're about to negotiate humanity's entry into galactic civilization. What about the fleet movements they've initiated? Asked Commander Rodriguez. Chen looked at the tactical display showing dozens of alien fleets converging on strategic positions throughout Council space. Let them prepare their defenses, Commander. It will make them feel better, and it won't change the fundamental reality of our situation. Humanity is here to stay, and they're going to have to find a way to live with that fact. Outside the viewport, Council Station Omega-7 continued its slow rotation, while the massive bulk of the Prometheus cast shadows across its surface. The age of human isolation was ending, and the age of galactic partnership was about to begin. The Grand Diplomatic Hall of Council Station Omega-7 had been reconfigured for the most significant negotiations in galactic history. The chamber itself was a marvel of adaptive architecture, its walls shifting from the standard crystalline council configuration to accommodate human environmental needs while maintaining the atmospheric requirements for 17 different species. The massive table at the center could seat over 100 delegates, though today it hosted only the most senior representatives from both civilizations. Admiral Chen entered the chamber alongside Earth's premier diplomatic team, led by Ambassador Elizabeth Warren, not the politician, but a career diplomat who had spent 30 years preparing for the theoretical possibility of first contact. The human delegation was deliberately small, consisting of only 12 individuals, but each represented the absolute pinnacle of their respective fields: xenobiology, galactic law, military strategy, economics, and cultural analysis. The contrast with the Council delegation was immediately apparent. Where humanity had sent specialists, the Council had assembled what appeared to be their entire governing body. Nearly 60 representatives filled the alien side of the table, representing every major species and political faction within their civilization. The message was clear: they were taking this negotiation seriously enough to involve their highest authorities. High Counselor Vesera materialized at the head of the table, her energy form creating subtle patterns that the human xenopsychology team had learned indicated formal protocol modes. Honored delegates, we gather today to address the most significant change in galactic civilization since the founding of the Council itself. Humanity's arrival has challenged our fundamental assumptions about technology, security, and our place in the universe. These negotiations will determine whether our civilizations can coexist peacefully or whether we face an uncertain future of conflict and suspicion. Ambassador Warren stood to respond, her decades of diplomatic experience evident in her composed demeanor despite the historic nature of the moment. High Counselor Vesera, distinguished members of the Galactic Council, humanity comes to this table with respect for your civilization and hope for our shared future. We believe that the diversity of approaches our two civilizations represent can become a source of strength rather than conflict. The first hours of negotiation focused on establishing basic protocols and confirming the astronomical data that humanity had shared regarding extinct civilizations. Dr. Sarah Hendricks, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist, presented holographic displays showing the evidence that had shaped human strategic thinking for decades. Counselors, what we have discovered suggests that the galaxy experienced a period of intense conflict approximately 20,000 years ago. 17 separate civilizations achieved interstellar travel in this region before being systematically destroyed by unknown forces. The evidence indicates the use of weapons capable of stellar manipulation and planetary destruction on a scale that exceeds anything currently in our databases. Counselor Corthanis, an ancient Kytherian whose expertise in galactic history was unparalleled, examined the data with visible agitation, his skin cycling through colors that indicated deep disturbance. Dr. Hendricks, if these findings are accurate, they suggest that the Council was founded in the aftermath of a galactic war that we have no memory of. Our oldest records speak of a peaceful galaxy gradually being unified under Council authority, with no mention of predecessor civilizations. It's possible, Dr. Hendricks replied carefully, that the Council itself was established by survivors of that conflict, and knowledge of the war was deliberately suppressed to prevent its recurrence. The evidence suggests that whatever force destroyed these civilizations was ultimately stopped, but at tremendous cost. The implications of this revelation rippled through the assembled delegates. Several alien species began intense consultations in their native languages, while others demanded access to humanity's complete archaeological database. Admiral Chen watched the proceedings with professional interest, noting how different species processed information and stressed differently. The ethereals pulsed with complex patterns of analysis, the Kytherian representatives shifted through rapid color changes, while the bear-like Korthak delegates engaged in what appeared to be heated debates among themselves. Admiral Chen called Counselor Merthak, his massive frame leaning forward with obvious concern, "Your military capabilities suggest preparation for threats of the magnitude described in this data. Do you believe these ancient enemies might return?" Chen had prepared for this question extensively, consulting with Earth's finest strategic analysts and xenobiologists. Counselor Merthak, we have no evidence that the forces which destroyed these civilizations still exist. However, human military doctrine is based on preparing for the worst-case scenario while hoping for the best. Our capabilities were developed to ensure that humanity could defend itself against any conceivable threat, whether ancient enemies, unknown aliens, or natural disasters. But surely such overwhelming military power represents a threat to galactic peace, interjected Counselor THYSS Mech, her scaled features displaying obvious anxiety. How can the Council accept the presence of forces that could destroy our entire civilization? Ambassador Warren stepped forward, having anticipated this crucial objection. Counselor THYSS Mech, I understand your concern, but consider the alternative. If these ancient threats do return, or if new ones emerge from beyond the galactic rim, would you prefer that humanity face them alone while the Council remains defenseless? We propose a partnership where our military capabilities become a shield for all galactic civilizations, rather than a sword hanging over any of them. The suggestion caused immediate debate throughout the alien delegation. Several species seemed intrigued by the concept of enhanced galactic defense, while others clearly remained suspicious of human motives. High Counselor Vesera pulsed with contemplation patterns before addressing the core issue directly. Ambassador Warren, Admiral Chen, the fundamental question before us is trust. Your species possesses the capability to destroy every council world within weeks, yet you claim peaceful intentions. How can we verify that these intentions will remain constant across decades or centuries? Chen stood to respond, understanding that this moment would likely determine the success or failure of the entire negotiation. High Counselor, humanity proposes a system of mutual accountability and shared governance. We suggest the establishment of joint military commands, shared technology development, and integrated defense networks. Rather than keeping our capabilities separate and, potentially threatening, we propose making them transparent and cooperative. Specifically, asked Counselor Merthak, his tactical mindset clearly engaged by the military implications. We propose the creation of the Galactic Defense Alliance, Chen announced, activating a holographic display that had been prepared by Earth's finest strategic planners. Human and Council forces would be integrated under joint command structures, with shared intelligence, coordinated training, and unified response protocols. Any decision to deploy major military assets would require approval from both human and Council authorities. The display showed organizational charts, command structures, and operational protocols that would merge humanity's overwhelming firepower with the Council's sophisticated organization and diplomatic networks. The proposal was comprehensive, addressing everything from resource allocation to conflict resolution procedures. You would willingly submit your military forces to joint command with species you have just met, asked Counselor Corthanis, his skin patterns showing disbelief. Not submission, Counselor, partnership, Warren clarified. Human commanders would serve alongside Council officers at every level, ensuring that both perspectives are represented in all decisions. The goal is to create a defense force that combines humanity's technological capabilities with the Council's wisdom and experience. Dr. Kim stepped forward with additional data that had been prepared for this specific discussion. Counselors, our analysis suggests that such integration would benefit both civilizations enormously. Human military technology combined with Council organizational efficiency could create defensive capabilities that neither of US could achieve alone. More importantly, joint operations would build the trust and understanding necessary for long-term cooperation. The alien delegates spent the next several hours examining the proposal in detail, asking technical questions about command structures, resource allocation, and operational procedures. Chen was impressed by the thoroughness of their analysis and the sophistication of their questions. Clearly, the Council had extensive experience with cooperative military arrangements, even if they had never dealt with such overwhelming technological disparities. Admiral Chen, called Counselor Lythasera, a graceful Aquarian whose species specialized in complex systems analysis, your proposal requires humanity to share advanced military technology with Council forces. Are you prepared to transfer weapons capabilities that could theoretically be used against human interests? Counselor, we propose sharing defensive technologies and coordination systems, not offensive weapons, Chen replied. Our goal is to enhance the Council's ability to defend itself and contribute to joint operations, not to create potential threats to human security. But what of the broader technological exchange? Pressed another voice from the alien delegation. Your species clearly possesses capabilities beyond our current understanding. Are you willing to share scientific and industrial technologies as well? Dr. Maria Santos, Earth's leading expert in technology transfer policies, stood to address this complex issue. Counselors, humanity proposes a gradual technology exchange program based on mutual benefit and shared research initiatives. We would begin with technologies that enhance peaceful cooperation, improved communication systems, medical advances, and scientific instruments. More sensitive technologies would be shared only as trust builds and joint institutions are established. The discussions continued for hours, covering everything from trade relationships to cultural exchange programs. Chen found herself impressed by the Council's sophistication in handling complex negotiations involving multiple species with different needs and priorities. Their experience in galactic governance was clearly extensive, even if their assumptions about military superiority had been challenged. There is one more crucial issue we must address, High Counselor Vesera announced as the session entered its final phase. Territory and expansion rights. Humanity claims sovereignty over systems you have already colonized, and you assert the right to continue expansion into unoccupied space. How do we reconcile these claims with established council authority? Ambassador Warren activated another prepared presentation, this one showing star charts with proposed boundary delineations and expansion corridors. High Counselor, humanity proposes a zoned approach to galactic development. We recognize Council sovereignty over all currently inhabited systems and established territories. In return, we request recognition of human sovereignty over our existing colonies and defined expansion corridors into genuinely unoccupied space. The proposal showed buffer zones between human and Council territory, joint development regions for shared projects, and clearly marked areas where each civilization would have primary authority. It was a comprehensive attempt to prevent territorial conflicts while allowing both civilizations to continue growing. What of systems that might be claimed by both civilizations in the future? Asked Counselor Merthak. Joint colonization projects, Chen replied immediately. Systems of strategic importance or exceptional resources would be developed cooperatively, with shared governance and mutual benefits. The alien delegates examined the territorial proposals with obvious relief. Chen could see that many of them had feared humanity would simply claim whatever territory they wanted, backed by superior military force. The willingness to negotiate boundaries and accept limitations seemed to be a significant positive factor in their evaluation. As the day's negotiations drew to a close, High Counselor Vesera pulsed with patterns that the human team had learned indicated cautious optimism. Admiral Chen, Ambassador Warren, these proposals require extensive review by our constituent species and governing bodies. However, I am encouraged by humanity's apparent willingness to accept limitations on your capabilities and to work within cooperative frameworks rather than imposing your will through force. High Counselor, Warren replied, humanity learned long ago that true strength comes from having reliable allies, not conquered enemies. We would much rather build a galaxy where our children and yours can work together toward common goals. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, Chen reflected on the day's progress. The negotiations had gone better than expected, largely because humanity's proposals addressed the Council's core fears while offering significant benefits in return. Whether those proposals would be accepted remained to be seen, but at least both sides were talking rather than fighting. The real test would come in the following days, as the Council's constituent species debated whether they could trust a civilization that had arrived with such overwhelming power and such apparently reasonable intentions. 3 weeks after the initial negotiations began, Admiral Chen stood once again in the Grand Diplomatic Hall of Council Station Omega-7, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Where tension and suspicion had dominated the early sessions, there was now an air of cautious anticipation. The Council delegates had spent the intervening time consulting with their constituent species, analyzing human proposals, and conducting their own verification of the archaeological evidence that had shaped human strategic thinking. The chamber itself had been reconfigured again, this time to accommodate the signing ceremony for what would become known as the Galactic Cooperation Accords. Representatives from 47 different species filled the massive space, while holographic displays connected the proceedings to millions of observers across both human and Council space. High Counselor Vesera materialized at the center of the chamber, her energy patterns now displaying the complex harmonics that indicated formal ceremony protocols among the ethereals. Honored delegates, we gather today to witness the formal establishment of a new era in galactic civilization. After extensive deliberation, the member species of the Galactic Council have voted to accept humanity's proposals for cooperative coexistence and mutual defense. Today, we sign the Galactic Cooperation Accords, which will establish the framework for our shared future. Ambassador Warren stepped forward, carrying the ceremonial documents that had been prepared in both human languages and the 37 written languages used by Council species. The physical documents were largely symbolic, the real agreements existed in quantum encrypted databases, but the ceremony required traditional elements from both civilizations. High Counselor Vesera, distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, on behalf of humanity and the United Earth Government, I am honored to participate in this historic moment. These accords represent not just agreements between governments, but the foundation for a partnership that could last for millennia. The first document to be signed established the Galactic Defense Alliance, creating the joint military command structure that would integrate human and Council forces under shared authority. Admiral Chen watched with satisfaction as representatives from the major military powers signed their acceptance of protocols that would fundamentally reshape galactic security. Admiral Quintaros, who had led the first Council fleet to encounter the Prometheus, stepped forward to add his signature to the military accords. "Admiral Chen," he said, his skin displaying patterns of respect and anticipation, "I must admit that when I first saw your ship, I feared for the future of galactic peace. Now, I find myself looking forward to serving alongside human officers in defense of all our worlds." "Admiral Quintaros," Chen replied with genuine warmth, "I believe you'll find that human and Council approaches to military science will complement each other perfectly. Your tactical sophistication combined with our technological capabilities should create a defense force that can handle any conceivable threat." The second set of documents established the territorial agreements that would govern expansion and development throughout the galaxy. The star chart showed clearly defined zones of authority, buffer regions, and areas designated for joint development. Most importantly for long-term stability, the agreements included detailed protocols for resolving future territorial disputes through negotiation rather than conflict. Councillor Merthak of the Unified Colonies, whose tactical expertise had proven invaluable during the negotiations, signed the territorial accords with obvious relief. "These agreements should prevent the kind of expansion conflicts that have plagued galactic history," he rumbled in his deep bass voice. "Clear boundaries and cooperative development will benefit all our species." Dr. Kim stepped forward to witness the signing of the technology sharing agreements, which would establish joint research institutions and carefully manage transfer protocols for advanced technologies. The agreements were designed to enhance cooperation while protecting sensitive capabilities that could be misused. "Councillors," Dr. Kim addressed the assembly, "these research partnerships will allow us to combine human engineering capabilities with Council scientific sophistication. I believe we'll achieve breakthroughs that neither of our civilizations could reach alone." The technological accords included provisions for joint development of advanced defensive systems, improved communication networks, and enhanced space exploration capabilities. Most significantly, they established protocols for sharing archaeological research that could reveal more about the galaxy's hidden history. Dr. Hendricks had spent the past 3 weeks working with Council historians to analyze the evidence of ancient conflicts, and her findings were proving to be even more significant than originally thought. "High Councillor," she announced as the technology agreements were completed, "our joint archaeological teams have made remarkable discoveries. The evidence suggests that the Council itself was indeed established by survivors of the ancient conflicts, but knowledge of those wars was deliberately suppressed to prevent their recurrence. We've found sealed archives that contain detailed records of the threats our predecessors faced." The revelation sent murmurs of amazement through the assembled delegates. The idea that their own civilization had forgotten its origins was shocking to species that prided themselves on their historical knowledge and institutional memory. "What did these archives reveal?" asked Councillor Corthanis, his skin cycling through patterns of intense curiosity. "Evidence of forces that operated beyond this galaxy," Dr. Hendricks replied solemnly. "The civilizations that were destroyed weren't fighting each other, they were fighting something that came from the intergalactic void. Something that may return someday." The implications of this discovery had influenced the final negotiations significantly. The possibility of external threats from beyond the galaxy had made the case for human Council cooperation much more compelling to even the most suspicious alien species. As the ceremony proceeded, each major agreement was signed with appropriate ritual and ceremony. The cultural exchange accords established programs for artistic, educational, and scientific cooperation. The economic integration treaties created frameworks for trade and shared development projects. The governance protocols established the institutions that would manage the ongoing relationship between humanity and the Council. High Councillor Vesera pulsed with ceremonial patterns as the final documents were completed. Today marks the end of humanity's isolation and the beginning of a new chapter in galactic civilization. The signing of these accords creates the largest cooperative alliance in known history, uniting over 200 billion sentient beings under shared principles of peace, cooperation, and mutual defense. Admiral Chen stepped forward for her final remarks, knowing that her words would be recorded for history. "High Councillor, distinguished delegates, 3 months ago humanity was alone in the universe. Today, we become part of a galactic community that spans thousands of worlds and dozens of species. We pledge that humanity's strength will serve as a shield for the innocent and a foundation for continued peace among all sentient beings. The ceremony concluded with the activation of the quantum communication networks that would link human and Council space permanently. For the first time in galactic history, instantaneous communication would be possible across the entire Alliance territory, enabling coordination and cooperation on an unprecedented scale. As the delegates began to disperse, Admiral Chen found herself approached by representatives from various Council species, each eager to discuss specific aspects of the new alliance. The Korthak engineers wanted to examine human ship construction techniques, while the Aquarian scientists were fascinated by quantum suppression technology. The Ethereals expressed particular interest in human philosophy and cultural development. Commander Rodriguez approached with a tactical update that Chen had been expecting. Admiral, we're receiving reports from Earth Command. The rest of the human fleet is beginning deployment to Alliance patrol stations. The Council worlds are being quite welcoming to our forces. Chen nodded, pleased that the integration was proceeding smoothly. Human ships were taking positions throughout Council space, not as occupying forces but as partners in a shared defense network. Meanwhile, Council officers were beginning their assignments aboard human vessels, learning to operate equipment that represented the cutting edge of military technology. Any problems with the integration? She asked. Surprisingly few, ma'am. Seems like both sides are genuinely committed to making this work. Though I have to say, some of the alien technologies are pretty impressive too. Those Council defensive fields could definitely enhance our ship designs. Dr. Kim joined the conversation with updates on the research partnerships. Admiral, the joint archaeology teams are making remarkable progress. We've identified 12 more sites that might contain archives from the ancient conflicts. If we can decode those records, we might finally understand what our predecessors were fighting and whether those threats still exist. The possibility of external enemies had become a unifying factor for the new alliance. Both humanity and the Council had reasons to ensure that the galaxy was prepared for any threats that might emerge from the intergalactic void. Ambassador Warren approached with the final ceremonial duty of the day. Admiral, High Counselor Vesera has requested that you join her for the formal announcement to the galaxy. The quantum networks are standing by to broadcast our statement to every inhabited world in Alliance space. Chen followed Warren to the station's central communication center, where High Counselor Vesera was preparing the announcement that would inform trillions of beings that their galaxy had fundamentally changed. Admiral Chen, Vesera pulsed with satisfaction, would you like to share the honor of making this historic announcement? It would be my privilege, High Counselor. Together, they activated the galaxy-wide communication network, their combined voices reaching across thousands of light-years to every corner of Alliance space. Citizens of the galaxy, Vesera began, today marks the establishment of the greatest alliance in galactic history. Humanity has joined the Galactic Council as equal partners in a cooperative civilization dedicated to peace, prosperity, and mutual defense. Chen continued the announcement. The Galactic Defense Alliance represents the combined strength of humanity's technological capabilities and the Council's wisdom and experience. Together, we are prepared to face any challenge the universe might present, whether from within our galaxy or beyond. As the announcement concluded, Chen looked out through the station's viewports at the ships of the combined fleet. Human vessels floated alongside Council ships, their crews already beginning the integration process that would transform two civilizations into one alliance. The massive bulk of the Prometheus dominated the view, but she no longer seemed threatening to the alien vessels around her. Instead, she had become what humanity had always intended, a protector and shield for those who needed defending. Admiral, Commander Park called from her station, were receiving response communications from across the galaxy. Initial reactions seem overwhelmingly positive, though there are some concerns from frontier worlds that don't fully understand the implications yet. Those concerns will fade as they see the benefits of alliance membership, Chen replied confidently. Enhanced security, shared technology, expanded trade opportunities, the advantages will become obvious quickly. High Counselor Vesera approached for a private word as the ceremony activities began to wind down. Admiral Chen, I must confess that when your ship first appeared, many of us feared that humanity would demand subjugation of the Council. The fact that you chose cooperation over domination speaks well of your species' character. High Counselor, humanity learned long ago that true strength comes from having allies who choose to stand with you, not subjects who are forced to obey. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us to prosper together. Indeed. And, perhaps together we will be strong enough to face whatever challenges await us in the void between galaxies. Chen nodded, understanding that the ancient threat had become more than just a theoretical concern. The archaeological evidence suggested that something had destroyed multiple galactic civilizations in the past, and there was no guarantee it wouldn't return. But, now, for the first time in galactic history, the inhabitants of the Milky Way had the technology and unity necessary to defend themselves against any conceivable threat. The combination of human military innovation and council organizational wisdom had created something unprecedented, a truly galactic civilization capable of protecting itself. As Admiral Chen prepared to return to the Prometheus for the journey back to human space, she reflected on how much had changed in just a few months. Humanity had gone from isolated defenders preparing for unknown threats to partners in the largest alliance in galactic history. The stars were no longer empty and threatening, they were filled with friends, allies, and partners in the greatest adventure in human history. The age of human isolation was over, and the age of galactic cooperation had begun. And, in the depths of space, ancient monitoring stations that had waited for millennia in the void between galaxies detected the quantum signatures of the new alliance and began transmitting signals toward distant masters who had been patient for far too long. The galaxy's new unity would soon be tested in ways that neither humanity nor the Council could yet imagine. But that would be a challenge for tomorrow. Today, two civilizations had chosen cooperation over conflict, and the galaxy would never be the same.